The Timberwolves beat OKC. How the Wolves out-thundered the Thunder. Next.
You are Locked On Timberwolves, your daily Minnesota Timberwolves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Wolves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Happy Saturday, happy weekend, everybody. Welcome into a special edition of Locked On Wolves. Did not get an episode out yesterday. I completely didn't have a voice. We'll see how long this lasts today. It's a little bit touch and go, as you can probably hear in my voice, but I wanted to get a show out after not getting one out yesterday, and a huge Wolves win over the Thunder Friday night. I have a lot to say. This was a really fun game. There's a lot of fun and also some less fun discourse out there, as there often is, about the end of this game. And, well, not the end of the game. I guess the game in its totality and how it was played and how it was officiated. And, yes, we will talk officiating. I normally don't, but it's inescapable when your head coach gets, kicked out of the game in the first 5 minutes or whatever. We got to talk about it. But I want to start with all the other stuff. Free throws is a part of it, but how the Wolves dominated the Thunder, how they out OKC to OKC. There's a couple of ways in which they did it. They actually dictated the matchups in this game pretty impressively. So I want to dig in on how they did that from a rotation standpoint, how the Wolves bigs were, dominant over OKC's bigs, and what Mark Daigneault did to try and combat that. And we'll get into some of the officiating stuff. My take, if you missed it on X, I have what I'm convinced is a measured take on the officiating and the Thunder. And I invite Thunder and Wolves fans alike. Like Thunder fans, if you're here to get mad at a Wolves person covering the Wolves complaining about the Thunder, I don't think it shouldn't be that controversial. I think it's a pretty level-headed, measured take. I know that's not popular, but I'm going to do it here in just a minute after we get through some of the big things, the big ways that the Wolves out-thundered the Thunder. First, a big thank you for making Locked On Wolves your first listen every day. Of course, this show is free and available everywhere. That includes YouTube as well as all of your favorite audio platforms. Wherever you like to listen to podcasts, you can find Locked On Wolves. All right. So how did the Wolves out-thunder the Thunder? Well, number one, they played really, really hard. I know that's not like, it doesn't show up in the box score. It's not like a really hat tip JJ Redick schematic thing, but effort level is how you beat this OKC team. And I'm going to come back to this a little bit later when we talk officiating, but it's simply playing as hard as you can all the time, forcing the officials to blow the whistle, and contesting every rebound, contesting every jumper. Contests were actually a little bit shoddy from Minnesota in this game. They dodged some bullets with some of the missed threes from OKC, to be sure. But rebounding is the biggest thing. And not that OKC is a dominant rebounding team. They're not. But that is a way you can beat the Thunder, is by actually being super active on the glass, creating second chance opportunities, and limiting their second chance opportunities. And again, they dodged some bullets, down the stretch when it comes to that. But overall, Minnesota out-rebounded OKC by 5 in this game. The Wolves got 18 offensive rebounds. How did they do that? Well, again, effort. Also, Rudy Gobert is significantly larger than anybody else that the Thunder have to put out there. And Rudy had his moments in the playoffs last year. I know there's a lot of lineup data and stats going around about how competitive the Wolves actually were with Rudy on the floor in the Western Conference Finals last year. And one of the indictments of the job Chris Finch did coaching in the playoffs was Gobert didn't play enough. The Rudy lineups are actually pretty effective against OKC because of the massive size advantage and interior, I would say defensive advantage as well. Like Chet had a couple crazy blocks in this game. He was good. Chet Holmgren had 5 rebounds in 25 minutes in this game. Isaiah Hartenstein played only 28 minutes. He didn't even start the second half. OKC decided to go small and put Isaiah Joe on the floor in the second half, and not start the second half with Hartenstein, who of course started the game. And that's another way that Minnesota out-thundered the Thunder. Usually, historically over the last couple of years, it's been Minnesota reacting to Mark Daigneault and saying, okay, well, we'll play small because that's what's going to help us match up the best against OKC. In this game, it was ultimately Mike Inori, not Chris Finch, for the majority of the game after Finch was ejected in the opening minutes, was, hey, we're just going to play big and good luck. And that's what happened. The Thunder didn't have a single big that played more than 28 minutes in this game. They played Isaiah Joe started the third quarter, played just 13. I mean, he's not a big, but he played just 13 minutes. Hartenstein played 28. Holmgren played 25. Dort played 29, effectively, playing the 4 for chunks of the game. And Jalen Williams played 32 minutes. as you know, in what his, how many games has he been back now? 3 or 4? Excuse me. This was Minnesota saying, look, we're not going to change. We're not going to deviate. Gobert played 33 minutes. He had 14 rebounds in this game. He had 6 offensive rebounds. He attempted 7 free throws because he was forcing OKC to pay attention to him, to deal with his length and his size. And how many tap outs did he have that didn't get counted as rebounds in this game? The activity level of Rudy Gobert and his presence, just his presence was huge. And down the stretch, I actually thought Mike Inori did a pretty good job with, he took Gobert off the floor when they needed a little bit more scoring and everything was a little bit more perimeter oriented. Then he put him back on the floor for a couple of key defensive possessions late. I thought he maybe where there's 1 or 2 defensive possessions, he could have gotten Gobert out there quicker. But in general, I thought he played that correctly. And ultimately, Gobert led the Wolves bigs in minutes. He played 33. Randle played 32. Reid played 31. And that rotation was handled nearly perfectly to deal with what OKC has. To, again, give the Wolves a 5 rebound advantage on the overall glass, a 5 rebound advantage on the offensive glass, and really kind of muck things up, which, again, is kind of what OKC does anyway. And it's one of the ways that Minnesota beat the Thunder at their own game. So the points in the paint, Thunder actually won points in the paint, but in general in this game, there wasn't that. Like the Thunder had 40, Minnesota had 34. So limiting those opportunities, limiting the free throw opportunities, limiting the second chance opportunities, and forcing OKC to adjust their rotation. And the energy level is connected to all of that. It's also connected to the officiating and to the free throw. What ended up being a true free throw disparity in favor of Minnesota in this game. We got to talk Chris Finch. Chris Finch was ejected, 4 minutes into the game, something like that, 5 minutes into the game. And, you've seen it. Yeah, I don't need to rehash what happened, but the short version is Ant's arm gets grabbed on a drive, obviously a foul. He loses the ball. Foul's not called. Randle goes up. The ball may have been contacted before the contact on the arms, but it was a pretty, very rarely are you not getting that call. Wolves don't get the call. And Finch loses his mind. Somehow Ant doesn't get a technical. He probably should have. Finch gets one. Then he decides to lose it again, gets another, gets kicked out, does the hold me back thing. I for as much as Thunder fans think that the Thunder are in Finch's head, I think it's hilarious that the idea that the Thunder in Finch's head is so much in Thunder's fans' heads. Who cares? Chris Finch is doing what he thinks he has to do for his team. Turns out he's been a pretty successful head coach. He's a pretty smart guy. This feels a little bit calculated. And also then that he just lost it. I think it's both. I think he was thinking, if I get an opportunity, I'm going to lose it to fire up my team. And then he really lost it. This is only the second time he's ever been ejected in 4+ years of coaching the Wolves. It's not like this happens all the time. For all the people saying that Finch is a lunatic or a maniac, it's absurd. He's calculated. He knows exactly what he's doing. And, everybody loses it from time to time. And it worked out because you know what it did? The officials knew, hey, look, I guess we'll look out for all these things they keep telling us to look out for. This normally reasonable measured guy who doesn't get that many texts just lost his mind. And the refs are hearing this night after night. Look, I said this on Twitter. I'll lay it out again here. The Thunder are not officiated. They're not actually officiated differently than the rest of the league. They play differently than the rest of the league. So if you hear nothing else, OKC fans, before you shut it off and cuss me out on Twitter, listen to this. I don't think the Thunder are officiated differently. They play differently, and it's a credit to the Thunder. It doesn't make it okay, but here's what happens. OKC plays harder than almost anybody. They foul more than anybody, and they do. They grab, they hold. There was a pivotal play that led to free throws for Julius Randle down the stretch where Jalen Williams grabs him by the hips on a cut, on a roll to the basket, and they called it. It was innocuous. It almost never gets called, especially against the Thunder, but it was called. It led to free throws. Minnesota extended their lead. They either extended it from 1 to 3 or cut into the 3-point Thunder lead. I can't remember which, but it was final minutes, big play, a seemingly innocuous off-ball foul. That doesn't get called if the Wolves aren't calling attention to it. They grab, they hold. Credit to them for getting away with it. I don't think the Thunder officiated differently, but they do it on every single play because they're playing so hard, and they know the officials are not going to call it on every single play. If they call it 1 out of every 5 times, it's a huge win. If they call it 1 out of every 3 times, it's a win for OKC. Over the course of a game, and on a more macro level, the course of a season or several seasons, it's a huge net win for the Thunder. That's what they're doing. They can't call them all. I'm not saying the Thunder officiated differently. If the Thunder commit 100 fouls and the refs only call 30, that's a win for them. The Wolves probably don't commit 100 fouls in a game because they don't play that hard all the time. They don't grab and hold and pull, and it's more aesthetically pleasing overall. But say the Wolves commit 60 fouls in a game and the officials call 30. Well, guess what? That's an advantage for the other team. Does that make sense? Like if they're not going to call them all, and then what happens when they're not calling the foul? Well, you're getting a deflection, a steal, a travel, a turnover. They throw the ball out of bounds, a contested shot, maybe a foul on the floor, and you're not in the penalty, or it's not a shooting foul. Like, there really are very few bad things that can happen if you're OKC. This game was the exception to the rule. It's not like the Thunder have been getting away with this for a couple of years now. It's no secret that's what they're doing. And I don't necessarily agree with the comment Finch made about SGA last year. Like, SGA is an incredible player, and I know Finch knows he is too. I don't think SGA is officiated that differently. I just think he's a master at what he does. I think it's everything I just said. Like, it's a market inefficiency. The example I used on X was Moneyball, right? The A's of 20 years ago, 25 years ago. The Tampa Bay Rays under Andrew Friedman, who currently runs the Dodgers, who realized defense was an inefficiency. Teams didn't know how to measure defense. They were just going off of errors. And in baseball, there's more to it than that, right? The next inefficiency, and in some ways, Minnesota found that with the double big lineup with Gobert and Towns, short-lived. But when everybody was playing small ball, Minnesota said, all right, we're going to zag and go big. Right now, the Thunder's inefficiency is that they found, the market inefficiency that the Thunder found a way to exploit is fouling every time down the floor, and also the roster building. Like, that's a whole other thing, another day, a rant for another day. But Sam Presti's incredible. Built an incredible roster full of guys that are willing and able to play this way. Long, athletic, smart, want to play hard. He's got a bunch of those guys. And it's the right combination of things. And obviously, Dagno's a good coach too. That's what's happening here. It's not rocket science. It's not rigged. The league's not out to help OKC. They're not out to help SGA. And at the same time, let's not pretend like the Thunder aren't grabbing and holding on every single play. Like, let's be reasonable and understand that it can be both. And that's exactly what's happening here. All right. I want to hit a couple other things here, and then we'll get to individual studs and duds and close it out. Today's episode of Locked On Wolves is brought to us by our friends at DoorDash. The season's heating up, and DoorDash has a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun because every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out. Friday night was stressful. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need dessert right now. The late night interviews hit. Suddenly you need chips at midnight. DoorDash is built exactly for that. If the group chat says pull up, DoorDash makes sure that you could show up prepared. Hey, I actually did DoorDash some nachos and some fried pickles last night after the game. It was necessary. I needed to cool down a little bit. DoorDash helped me do that. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season delivered right to your door. DoorDash, in your bag all season long. Today's episode is also brought to us by our friends at Rocket Money. Ever feel like your money just disappears each month? It happens fast. A few subscriptions here, an impulse buy there, and suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the numbers in your head. Rocket Money helps you get clarity, track every dollar, and stay in control of your finances, because managing your money shouldn't feel like a second job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you so you can save more and stress less. Rocket Money will find subscriptions you just completely forgot that you were paying for and helps you clean them up quickly. Plus, you can see all your spending on one dashboard. It'll make it easier to understand where your money is going. Rocket Money will automatically build budgets based on your past spending as well. It keeps you on track without overthinking it. Take control of your finances and cancel your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. A big thank you once again for making Locked On Wolves your first listen of the day. And of course, thanks for helping make us the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad free. Join the Everydayer Club today. You get Locked On Wolves with no interruptions, members only, Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonwolves.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. All right. I already got on my soapbox about the officiating, about Chris Finch. And I want to kind of like put a bow on that by talking about the energy and the effort. This is also, it's equal parts a celebration of how Minnesota played on Friday night and also an indictment on how they often play. And I've said this before, it's not like new information, but the Wolves don't play hard every night. And in some ways, that's an indictment on the coaching staff, right? Like that's on Chris Finch and Mike Honori and the staff to get these guys ready to play each and every night. Why do you think the Wolves have been able to turn it up in the playoffs the last couple of years and get to the conference finals? I mean, like they play to their competition by and large. Look at the games Minnesota's lost this year. They've lost to good teams, but they've only been blown out once. Like that Knicks game is the only time they were full strength and blown out. They've lost to a couple of bad teams. They've had close games against bad teams. They beat the Thunder, right? Like they play to their competition. This isn't a new thing. They play well against good teams by and large. Doesn't mean they're going to win every time. But over the course of a season, like last year when Minnesota won, 47 games or 49 games, whatever they won last, I think it was 47. Like there's no reason this team shouldn't be a 53 to 55 win team. It should be. And they're on pace to be about that this year. But the problem is they don't, like Ant doesn't play hard defensively on every play against every player, against every opponent every night. And he won't, like nobody does all the time. But there needs to be a certain level of consistency that isn't there. And yeah, it's on the players to execute. It's on the coaches to impart this on the players. Like, look, you can't sleepwalk through some of these games. You're going to lose to a Giannis-less Bucks team on Sunday if you play like you did against the Kings a couple weeks ago, or the loss that they just had on Wednesday. Like the effort level has to be there. And that's why OKC is so impressive, because that's how they're doing what they're doing. That's how they're 24-3 or whatever they are, because they play hard every night. And the Wolves had a bit of a built-in advantage. OKC being on the second night of a back-to-back in this game. Absolutely. In Minnesota, yes. But you have to take advantage of those advantages. And Minnesota did that by actually playing hard. And the only reason that it was kind of even was the Finch ejection and the back-to-back stuff. Otherwise, OKC always plays hard and gets the benefit of the doubt because of it when it comes to the whistle. Energy level matters. And the Wolves don't always have it. They did in this game, and OKC did too, but Minnesota had just enough to put them over the edge. So that's something to keep an eye on moving forward. And like, are they going to lay an egg against a Giannis-less Milwaukee team on Sunday? Man, I hope not. But it's on the table. You better believe it's on the table. All right. I think we just go straight into studs and duds. I mean, like, I already did the soapbox thing. We talked about rebounding. We talked about, I should mention shooting as well. Minnesota shot the ball better than OKC in this game. Like, I mean, OKC was just 28% from outside the arc. The Wolves did a good job of making Lu Dort take threes. He'd been struggling from outside the arc. He hit a couple big ones early, but finished 3 of 10 on threes. I thought overall, Minnesota switching stuff on SGA. I actually think Minnesota should have blitzed SGA a little bit more than they did, but they were just switching and switching and switching. So it was a lot of Jaden and Ant going back and forth on SGA. And it worked okay. I mean, 35 points on 26 shots is not his most efficient night. It's obviously good, but it's not like to the level that sometimes we see Shea at. So I thought the way that they defended Gilgeous-Alexander was good. I thought the way they made Dort make threes and miss threes was good. Alex Caruso was just 1 of 6 on threes. There's some good fortune there. They missed some open looks. And thankfully, Minnesota shot 35% on threes to OKC's 28. They made 2 more threes, which was important because even though Minnesota shot 17 more free throws than OKC, they only made 5 more. So Minnesota was a +6 outside the arc in terms of points. They were only a +5 at the free throw line because of how many free throws they missed. 33 of 47. And of the 47 free throws, Julius Randle shot 16 of them. A ton of them, I should have said this earlier, a lot of them were because Minnesota was in the bonus. So it's not like OKC was committing these shooting fouls. It's they were getting called for the little stuff that they usually don't get called for. The grabbing and holding at the hips off of cuts and rolls, the jersey pulling, the hand checking, the stuff like that that doesn't usually get called against them was getting called. And so Minnesota got in the bonus very quickly. And that's how they racked up all these free throws, and the ball's in Julius Randle's hands a lot. It's crazy. Minnesota shot 47 free throws and Ant only shot 6. Gobert had 7, Reid had 7, Julius Randle had 16. So the missed free throws continue, like of late. That's been a real problem for Minnesota, and obviously that can't be a thing. When you play good teams, they got away with it against the Thunder, but it, by and large, that can't happen. When you play good teams, it can't happen, obviously, in the playoffs either. All right, let's close the show by talking individual studs and duds. We'll do all that here next. Today's episode of Locked On Wolves is brought to us by our friends at Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all in one place without the hassle or the hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. Gusto's automatic tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits will save you hours every week. Plus, knowing that you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you real peace of mind. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. One more time, gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, closing this thing out. Let's talk studs and duds. For Minnesota, obviously Anthony Edwards, the incredible sequence at the end. And, I didn't want to just voice blow by blow what happened, but if you missed it, and hits the step back three to put Minnesota up 1 when they were down 2, comes down, blocks SGA. A couple possessions later, and that's a help side block, right? Jaden's on SGA. He gets to the rim. Ant sags off of J-Dub and blocks SGA off the backboard, hits the rim. And then final possession, Minnesota's up 3 after a pair of Julius Randle free throws. And instead of fouling up 3, Anthony Edwards locks up SGA on the left wing, knocks the ball away. Jaden picks it up. Game over. Minnesota ends up winning by 5 after a pair of free throws. And that alone, it was good all game, especially given that he missed the last 3 games, hadn't played in, 10, 11 days, whatever it was. 26 points on 20 shots is fine. He wasn't outstanding for chunks of the game, but he won the game late. This is what superstars do. And he outshined SGA in that moment. 26 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks for Anthony Edwards. Second on the team in rebounds with 12. 5 stocks in this game for Anthony Edwards. Just an incredible performance, especially down especially down the stretch. Really good game from Ant. Other studs in this game. I got to go Gobert. I know he only had 9 points on 7 shots, and he didn't have any blocks in this game, and the Wolves lost points in the paint, but he had 14 rebounds. Minnesota won the rebound battle by 5. Nobody on the Thunder had more than 12, and that was Alex Caruso. Hartenstein had just 10 rebounds in this game. I thought Rudy was a presence. Rudy did what he had to do, played really well, and kind of set a tone for Minnesota. Another stud for me in this game, it's got to be, Nas played well too. I guess I'm going to split it. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to split it between Nas, Reid, and Bones Hyland. Nas had 15 points on 10 shots. He missed all of his 3-point attempts, but he had 5 stocks, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 6 boards. Played well when Minnesota needed him down the stretch when they were going offense, defense a little bit with Rudy. 6 boards in 31 minutes. You'd like it to be more, but Minnesota's front court, Randle, Gobert, Reid, outplayed OKC's front court of Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, and Nas was a big part of that. Bones Hyland only played 16 minutes. Dude had 13 points on 7 shots, knocked down 4 threes in this game, and every time it looked like OKC, the lead never grew to more than 12 for the Thunder, and Bones was a big part of keeping that thing from ballooning. Early in the game, he had a couple of big threes when it looked pretty dicey for the Wolves. He had 3 assists, only 1 turnover, a couple of steals and a block. So 3 stocks in 16 minutes, 13 points on 7 shots, including 4 made threes for Bones Hyland. A really, really nice performance. So he's also a stud. I also want to shout out real quickly, Rob Dillingham. The box scores, like most Rob Dillingham actual performances, pretty much a roller coaster. No points on 0 of 4 shooting. But he was a plus 10, which was tied for second best on the team. He had 6 boards in 12 minutes, 3 assists. He had a block, only turned it over once. If you watch back what he did, I was pretty nervous midway through the fourth quarter when Nori took out Ant and Julius Randle, and Rob Dillingham was on the floor in a 1-possession game I think they were up 5. Wolves were up 5 with 6 or 7 left. And Dillingham did a good job running the offense. He missed a couple shots. There was, I think, 1 bad pass in there, but it was overall really competent from Rob Dillingham, and it was steadier than it. It's funny, usually the Rob Dillingham experience is just straight up a roller coaster. And in this game, it actually felt steadier than the box score shows. At no point did I feel like he was off the rails. I thought he did everything right. He had a layup that was partially blocked that otherwise would have gone in. He, missed a couple jumpers that were in and out. Like, he looked comfortable, ran the offense well. This was a good Rob Dillingham performance. I was fine with it. I thought he played well. The Wolves bench in this game, I mean, straight up outplayed the Thunder bench. Like, they just did. I mean, Kaysen Wallace was not good. Alex Caruso was actually not very good in this game. He had a couple nice defensive plays, as he does. AJ Mitchell was good. But like Isaiah Joe, Kenrich Williams, pretty much non-factors. And, Nas, Bones, and Rob Dillingham all played well for Minnesota. No duds in this game. Like, TJ Shannon only played 5 minutes. He was fine. Everybody played well. Like, Julius was only the reason he's not a stud. He got to the line 16 times, which is great, but he got bailed out a little bit with some of the, not that they weren't fouls, but a lot of non-shooting fouls when the Wolves were in the bonus in this game. He ended up with 19 points on 15 shots, shot just 3 of 15. So second straight kind of, not pedestrian, worse than pedestrian shooting performance from Julius, but I thought he played fine overall. All right. That's all I got for this one today with this bonus episode on Saturday. Of course, next, the Wolves have the Milwaukee Bucks on Sunday, 6 p.m. tip. There is no Giannis for Milwaukee. I believe we'll have a postcast again with Jack and Luke. I'll have an episode up likely early on Monday. So stay tuned to that. Hopefully that's it's obviously a winnable game for Minnesota, but with the Knicks and the Nuggets upcoming this week, it'd be really nice to get to bank another win, assuming that, I don't want to say, like, realistically, best case is probably a split between the Knicks and the Nuggets for the Wolves. But it's a tough week after you get past Milwaukee on Sunday. So hopefully this road trip continues on a positive note for Minnesota as they head into home for the Knicks on, homestand, home for the Knicks on Tuesday, and then at Denver for the one-off road trip on Christmas Day, which is next Thursday. All right. Big thank you for making Locked On Wolves your first listen every single day. Of course, this show is free and available everywhere. That includes YouTube as well as all of your favorite audio platforms. Wherever you like to listen to podcasts, you can find Locked On Wolves. Also, if you need a last-minute holiday gift or someone keeps asking what you want, make it easy. Ask for the Everydayer Club. Ad-free episodes of this show, exclusive Discord server access, and more. Subscriptions can be gifted through LockedOnWolves.supercast.com. For those of you that are on video, make sure you check the show notes for your link to find out how to purchase the Everydayer Club. Again, you go to LockedOnWolves.supercast.com. Of course, this show is also part of that very same Locked On Wolves podcast network, your local experts on all the biggest stories. Once again, I'm Ben Beecken. This is the Locked On Wolves podcast, and we'll catch you next time.